Hi everybody, Portly Paladin back here again for another video and another quick update. I've got some not so great news this week. Gained a pound back, didn't lose anything. I know exactly why it is. I learned pretty quickly when I started doing this that my body is very emotionally sensitive. So I don't really do well when I'm in a very stressed out situation. Um, Now, not to say that I didn't try, and I have some sort of emotional eating issues, which I kind of do, but in this case, it doesn't really affect anything. But um, yeah, I've had a lot of things going on in the last couple weeks that have kind of really been getting to me. The job situation, of course, that's really starting to come to a head for me. I'm really very much hating being home every day. I really dislike getting up in the morning and having no real objective for the day. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do things. I make myself a to-do list for every day of things to do. But it's starting to get to the point to where I'm sort of seeing that list as busy work. Just stuff to keep myself busy and keep my mind off the fact that I'm sitting home again with nothing really changing at all. I've been getting to the point to where even the things on the list a lot of times I don't really want to do. Um, I have no desire or push to get them done. Things like cleaning the house or doing dishes or doing laundry. There are so many projects in this house that I would love to do, but every time I think about doing them, I just really have no push to do them. Uh, I'm having a hard time with that. I'm also having a hard time not having any real social interaction. Now, I don't want people to be mad when I say that. Um, I'm talking about, I have social interaction. And if I didn't have the interaction that I have now, I probably would have gotten to the point that I'm at right now a lot sooner. Um, See, I mean, I got my wife, of course, every night who comes home, and we have conversations and, all that stuff. And that's great, and I really appreciate that. But it's not the same as just, hanging out with some people and talking about stuff. Um, I even have the game store when I go there. But even still, when I'm at the game store, I almost feel like an employee. So I don't really tend to talk about a lot of the things that I would just like to have conversations about, because I don't want to push that sort of limit of propriety with the customers of the store. I mean, I still feel friendly with the customers of the store and the people that I play with, and I like sort of having that interaction and talking to them, but I just feel limited in that aspect. Um, I try sometimes to get to the store early before it opens, to see if there might be a couple of people there that might also be there before the store opens, and we can have some sort of like off the record type conversations. But a lot of times the only people that are there are the owners, and they're usually busy trying to get things ready to open the store, so it's kind of difficult to have conversations with them. And that's fine, and I completely and totally appreciate that they have that going on. So I don't, give them any sort of grief for that. So if they happen to watch this, and I know sometimes they do, I don't want them to think that, I am ungrateful for what they do offer me. But yeah, there is just that whole aspect of, the social interaction that I'm really craving. I'm really craving a challenge as well. That challenge of, starting a new position, learning about it, really pushing yourself to do good at it every day, and just having a purpose. Right now, I don't have a purpose. I wake up every morning with this cheesy little list of things to do, and I mean, yeah, I have been working on things to kind of give myself something to go on. I mean, right now, for example, I am working a lot on chainmail. I've got this dice bag here that I'm finishing up. It was a commission. Um, I've got things that I make to sell at the game store, uh, stuff like that, which, has actually been kind of falling to the wayside, even because I just don't feel like doing that either. That sort of has gotten to the point to where it feels like a job and a chore, and I don't really necessarily want to do it. So I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with, the hard drive issue that I talked about last week. Um, it's looking like there are very few things that can possibly be done to try to salvage that hard drive. And facing the fact that I'm losing all of that stuff is really hard. It's really, really hard. And I mean, even if it comes back, it's with someone right now who deals a lot with computer stuff, and he's been working on it. Even he's got one last thing that he said he could possibly try, but it's going to be kind of expensive, and it's going to take some time for me to save up the money to make that happen. It's only going to be about $100, but that's just not something I can deal with right now with the job situation. So even if I end up saving up the money and doing that, and it turns out that it doesn't work, I'm even still going to hold on to that drive and hope that when I get to the position where I do have a spare couple of $100, I can actually go do some data recovery with some company, because I just can't let all that go. There's so much there that is really important to me. Probably the biggest thing would be the pictures. I have so many pictures on that drive that are very important to me. Pictures from older apartments, pictures from our wedding, pictures from vacations, pictures from just days out when we just kind of spent a day out and went somewhere and did something to the local Renaissance Festival, things like that. Just all of that's gone right now. And that really, really bothers me that it's gone forever. And it's not gone forever. There are possibilities left. I mean, I still have a chance to recover some of that stuff, and I won't give up on it. But just the fact that every time I turn around, like, that chance that I can get that stuff back drops more and more and more, it's really bothering me a lot. So I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with, over the weekend, as I mentioned here before, I do run Pathfinder Society at the local store. And kind of getting sick of fantasy games in a lot of ways, so running that every week has become a bit of a chore. But I like doing it because I like helping out Todd and Wendy there at Gateway, because Pathfinder Society has become a pretty big thing for them. We have a lot of people that show up. A lot of people that really enjoy coming and playing. When they're there, they do, buy things, and it becomes part of the night. So it becomes a pretty good sales night for Todd and Wendy, and I really, want that to keep on happening. I like them a lot. They've done a lot for me. They've really helped me out a lot in a lot of ways. And I just don't feel like the things that they've done for me that I can ever really repay. But I can certainly try. And so I keep doing things like the Pathfinder nights, and board game meetups and things like that to help them out, to try to get people into the store, to try to get people buying things, and just really enjoying themselves there. And so I've been doing this Pathfinder thing, and over the weekend, I think it was Friday night, we had a Pathfinder night, and I overheard some people talking that there are certain people in the community that have mentioned that I'm doing a bad job there, that I'm very disorganized, and that there are lots of things that I do that they wish that they could change to make it better, because they don't really feel like it's a good place to play. That really bothered me, because I do put so much effort into it. I try a lot, and I feel that I'm pretty damn organized, actually, when I'm dealing with so many people at so many tables, all the time. I think I'm doing it by myself is pretty damn good. I do get some help here and there when I'm at the store, helping me get people at tables. But scheduling everything, choosing which games to run, getting them posted so people can see what's coming up, all of that's done by me. I'm organizing who's GMing, who's running the games, getting those people together. I make sure that every week we have enough GMs and enough tables to cover whatever amount of people are going to show up. so that I don't turn people away. I have never, in the history of running Pathfinder Society, ever canceled a game or turned a person away from a game. Not once. And I never will, unless something horrific or catastrophic happens that causes me to have to cancel a game, or if someone is extremely disruptive, extremely rude, obnoxious, etc., to the point to where I have to remove them from playing in a game. If either of those situations happens, which is a very slim chance, but if they do, then yes, I will cancel a game or remove a player from a game. I mean, gamers are such that they're not very well organized in and of themselves. So even though I post my games in 4 places every single time I post games, I usually only end up getting 4 to 5 people that sign up. Yet on game night, I have at least 12 people show up every single time. There are quite a few times when I've only had about 4 or 5 people sign up, and then I had 20 people show up. So you can't really rely on different sign-up pages, whether it be Facebook, Warhorn, stuff in the store, whatever it is. You can't rely on that because gamers are not reliable in that way. It's something I learned very quickly when I was doing this. So there are other people here in the area who will only post in 1 or 2 of those places, and then the day before a game is supposed to go off, they'll look and see, oh, I only have 2 people signed up, game's canceled. When in actuality, if they were to still go ahead and put that game on, I guarantee they would be able to run it. Because I guarantee more than 2 people are going to show up. It's good. I mean, it's just going to happen. Sometimes it's a scheduling issue. I've spoken to people who do end up doing that, not signing up and showing up. And a lot of times it's because they're not sure if they can make it until, close to the last minute when they realize, oh, I do have the time, I can go. Or maybe it might be a car issue. Oh, I don't think I'm going to have a car then, or I'm not going to have a ride. Whatever it is, and then at the last minute they end up realizing they can make it and they do have a car. There's a whole slew of issues that makes that happen that way. And I realize that, and I've understood that pretty quickly. And that's why I go ahead and do things the way I do, so that I can make sure to seat everybody. Yeah, it might be a little more chaotic than another store, but another store usually only has 1, maybe 2 tables. I have 3 or 4. Twice as much work that another person has to do. And there are stores out there who may only have 1 table, and they have to cancel a game because they can't find a GM. Guess what? If I can't find a GM for my store, I'm the GM. I'll do it. I step up and take that bullet. And then I have people that I can fall on that if something happens and I don't have enough people, I can just go, hey, I really need help, and they're there. Because I've cultivated those relationships with people. I have a lot of reliable people that I can have stand up and take over the reins and run a game. And it seems like other stores don't have that. So it really, really irritates me that someone would say, oh, you're not doing a good job. Because from the outside, honestly, and I'm not saying this to tout myself, but from the outside, it really looks like I'm doing a better job than you are. So how you would step up and say that about me, that's really frustrating. Because from the outside, it looks like, I'm putting in more effort, I'm putting in more time, and you're sitting here commenting about me, and you're not even really there for the situation. I mean, the person that I heard was making the comments the most is someone who's not even really usually there at the store. So they've been a few times, but to say that they've seen this chaotic issue and things like that, and not even really be that much present when I'm doing things is very highly irritating. The other irritating thing is that one of the other people that I heard, because what I did is I posted a poll on Facebook, and basically gave them some. I said, what do you think about the way games are organized, things are organized at Gateway in terms of Pathfinder Society? And I gave options. I put on there everything's perfect. You don't need to change anything. Um, things are really good. Maybe either are a thing or two I'd like to change. And then it's okay, but there's a lot I'd like to change. Um, it's horrible. I don't like to play there, or I don't play there for completely unrelated reasons. Now, the majority of the people that answered good, but there are some things I'd like to change. Almost no one posted examples. So I reposted and said, listen, I need examples if you expect me to change anything. You can't just tell me there are things you want to change and not tell me what they are and expect me to change them for the better. I am doing this because I want the game to be better for you and for you to have a better time and for everyone to have fun and be entertained. So then, at that point, I started getting a bunch of messages in my Facebook inbox instead of right there on the poll. And there were 3 very clear issues that people pointed out. None of those issues had anything to do with my organization. The first 2, which first one I'm not going to really mention. Second one was space in the location. There's absolutely nothing I can do about the space in the location. The store size is the store size. I can't make it bigger. I can't do anything whatsoever to change that. So the fact that that's even a gripe, I don't understand it. The only one that was on there that I could change, and I'm considering it, is quite a few people complained that they don't like the fact that I organize the tables. What I mean by that is when people come in, I have a sign-up sheet. I have everybody sign in with what character they would like to play and what scenario they would like to play. And then within that, a lot of times I will have 3 separate scenarios, 2 tables of a lower scenario and 2 tables of a higher scenario, one each. 2 different scenarios. One like sort of middle, like 3 to 9, 3 to 7, something like that, and one higher, like 5 to 9 or so. And then what I'll do is for the lower tables, when we have multiple signups, I will actually. All right, sorry about that. The phone rang, and I thought it might have been about a job that I applied for, but unfortunately, it was just a telemarketer. So I'm back. Anyway, what I was saying is, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll put 2 tables of one scenario in there. So when I have 9 or 10 people show up to play that scenario, I'll look at the list of the names and try to put them together in groups that make sense. And the reason I do that is because at the very beginning, when I first started doing things, it got to the point to where I was just letting people sit where they wanted, and we would have a table of like 4 rogues and a cleric, and then the other table would be 2 fighters, a barbarian, and 3 clerics, or something like that. So they were very unbalanced, and people started complaining, oh, I really would like. We had no fighting type, we had no melee type, no frontliners, no tanks. We didn't have any healing, we didn't have any arcane, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. And, it was making it difficult for them to make through the scenarios. So what I started doing is I started sort of spreading that out. When they put down the kind of character they were playing, and I would try to make sure that the levels were covered. So I'd spread people across the tables in that way. So I'd say, okay, look, we have 4 clerics. I'll put 2 at each table. We have 2 rogues. I'll put 1 at each table. We've got 2 wizards and a sorcerer, so I'll do wizard, sorcerer over here, wizard over there. We've got 2 rangers, so I'll split those, and we've got this, so I'll split those, so that each table was more balanced and they had the different sort of areas covered. And then I would also split them, in addition to that, based on level. Because I wouldn't want to put, which happened a couple times in the beginning, where I would have 4 level 1s and a level 3. Just because that's where people sat down and then at the tables. And that ended up being a thing as well, because people are like, especially the 3rd level, they're, oh, I'm playing at this table over here with a bunch of level 1s, and it seems like I'm doing everything because they can't get anything done because they're only level 1 and I'm level 3 and blah blah blah, and there's just this big discrepancy. So I started spreading the tables. Well, now apparently people don't like that. They want to be able to sit down and play with their friends or people that they've come to know with coming into the night, the different nights. Whatever, I understand that, but I can change that. I can set it up so you can just, okay, you've got this game at that table, this game at that table, this game at this table, this game at this table, go sit down. Wherever you want. First come, first serve. But I don't know how many people are going to like that idea. And I don't know how many people are going to complain if I keep going the way I'm going. So, I mean, it just seems like I can't make people happy, and that's kind of getting on my nerves a little bit as well. But then the last thing with that is, in the process of doing that poll, I was sent messages saying, why are you doing this? And I'm like, well, I heard somebody had complained. This particular person had complained about the way I run stuff at the store, and I was wondering if other people felt the same, which apparently they kind of do. There are things that they want to change, and their response was, "Oh, really? It was that person? I didn't really realize that person was complaining because this person is the person who always complains to me." And I said, "Wow, really? I didn't realize that." And the person they were talking about is somebody that I've known for a while, and I always thought I could kind of trust, and apparently they're going out behind my back and saying that I'm doing a bad job. And one of my first instincts is just to dump everything in their lap and go, here, you try it. See if you can do any better, because I don't think you can. I'm not saying that I'm the best there is at what I do. I'm no Wolverine, but come on. This is not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do. It takes a lot of time. It takes some effort, and based on history, you don't do that. You don't put a lot of time into things. You don't put a lot of effort into things. So whatever. But I've talked to the store owner, and he says he's satisfied and happy with everything I'm doing. So as long as he's happy, that's, as far as I'm concerned, all I really need to worry about is him and the customers. I don't really need to worry about what other people think. So whatever. But anyway, and then in addition to all of that stuff, my car went out again. Another thing wrong with that thing. It's like every time I turn around, like every couple of months, there's something else that needs to be fixed on that stupid car. I mean, I appreciate having the car, because if I didn't have one, it'd be even worse than it is now. But good Lord, it's like every time I turn around, something else needs to be fixed. It's just kind of really starting to wear on my nerves a little bit about what's going on there. Now, luckily, I have a great friend in Mr. Josh Wright, who is a mechanic, who stopped out yesterday and replaced the thing in all of about 10 minutes. And didn't charge me anything. I mean, I owe that guy so much money, it's like ridiculous. And once I finally get back to work and you really start making money, it's like I'm going to be just buying him crap left and right to try to work off this debt that I sort of owe him with all this stuff he's done. He's done almost all, he has done all the work on that car since I've gotten it, and it's had issues. So I owe him so much, it's ridiculous. But all these things, kind of just wearing on me a little bit, and I've been pretty stressed. It's been hard to deal with lately, and I think that's really why I've been not feeling quite so up to the task, so to speak. And that's why I didn't end up losing that much weight this week, or actually ended up gaining. So, yeah. Alright, so now that I've done and whined and bitched and complained so much, let's get to this week's cooking segment. Today I'm not going to so much talk about how to cook or recipes or techniques in that regard. What I'm going to talk about is this. Cast iron. It's very important, I think, for everybody out there to go out and buy themselves one of these. You can go buy one brand new. They're usually not that expensive, 15, 20 bucks for a good cast iron skillet. Or what I really recommend is going to a yard sale or a rummage sale or a flea market and getting one. Because usually, like this one, I bought this pan, a round 11-inch griddle, and two smaller, like 6-inch skillets at a rummage sale for $2.50 for for the box. All 4 of those skillets in one box for $2.50. Now, when I bought them, they were completely and utterly coated with rust. Just covered from tip to tip with rust. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how to salvage cast iron if you buy it in that condition. First thing I want you to do is get yourself a garbage bag. Put your pan in the garbage bag, and using the garbage bag sort of as a glove, sort of hold your pan, coat it, spray it all over with oven cleaner. Just go buy a cheap can of oven cleaner and coat it all over. Tie the bag up nice and tight. Make sure no animals or anything get in there and get some of that oven cleaner, and toss it outside on your back porch or whatever. Leave it out there for a day, maybe 2, depends on how bad the rust is. You might want to add a little bit more oven cleaner in there, but it's going to eat away that rust. And then when it's done, shouldn't take longer than a day actually. But after it's done, bring it back in. Throw it in the sink, scrub it down really, really well with lots of soap and hot soapy water. I mean, scrub it 3, 4, 5 times. Get all of that oven cleaner off, get all of the rust off, clean it off as best as you can until it's down to just bare metal. Now, it might scare you a little bit that I'm asking you to do that, but that's really the best way to get this thing restarted. Get it back down to a smooth surface so you can actually season it and start cooking with it. Now, seasoning is the part where it's going to get a little, I'm not really difficult, but it's probably going to freak people out a little bit. First thing I want you to do is, after you're done scrubbing it down really well, rinse it off really well as well. Put it on the stove. Turn it on. Get that thing nice and hot. Dry it off completely that way. Turn it off. Then I want you to go to the store, usually in the ethnic aisle, and I want you to buy a tub of lard. Don't turn it off. Come back. Come back. Come back. Leave it on. Seriously. To season cast iron, the absolute best thing to use is a natural fat. That is pure fat. Like butter has too much water in it, and anything like that. Vegetable oils are almost a little too unnatural. Do not, whatever you do, use a spray, like a nonstick spray, because those have silicone additives that help it spray cleanly, and you'll end up with like a sticky, gross mess on your pan. Do not ever use that. You'll end up with a little bit of stickiness with vegetable oil or shortening as well. You can kind of get past it, but also those things, I just wouldn't recommend using them. Lard is really the way to go, and you're not using a lot. All you're going to do is take a cloth or a paper towel, dab it in the lard, put like maybe a half teaspoon to a teaspoon worth of lard on your cloth, and wipe it around all over. Inside, outside, handle, underneath, all over, everywhere. And let it sit for a minute to kind of soak in and kind of form like a little bit of a barrier. And then come back, and I want you to lather that stuff on. Like put a good thick layer, like a tablespoon or 2 this time, all over all the surfaces again. Now, the second thing I want you to do is take a sheet pan, line it with aluminum foil, put it on the bottom rack of your oven, and then take your pan and put it upside down like this in a cold oven. Shut the door and set your oven to 500 degrees. Let it come up to temperature at 500 degrees. It's going to take probably 15-20 minutes for that to happen, and then bake your cast iron in the 500 degrees for about 2 hours. And when you're doing this, open up all your windows, turn on your exhaust, the whole deal. It's going to basically burn that lard, and it's not going to smell that great. It's not going to be horrendous. It's not going to like stink up your house or kill anything. It's just going to be unpleasant for a little while. After that time's over, turn the oven off and leave the pan in there and let it completely come to cool. It's going to take a couple hours, probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Pull it out, wipe it down to get off all of the sort of burnt lard that didn't kind of stick to the pan. and then wipe it again with a little bit more lard. You're ready to go. It's now a usable pan in good condition that you can use to cook just about anything in. If you cook meat at all, cast iron is second best to a grill because you can get this pan rocket hot, and I recommend you do. What I do for meat is I take a piece of chicken, say, and just rub it with a brush with a little bit of olive oil on both sides, season it up. You're going to have to season it more than you normally would because some of it is going to stay in the pan because it kind of will stick to the pan a little bit, but it's alright because it'll come off. But throw this pan on like a medium to medium high heat for a good 5 minutes. Like really get that heat in there and get it nice and hot. Take your piece of meat, toss it in. If you're using smaller cuts like I am right now being on Weight Watchers, I usually take a chicken breast and butterfly it in half so it's like really pretty thin. You're only going to cook maybe 3 minutes on a side at the most. But if you're cooking like a whole piece of chicken, and maybe you're going to cut it up after you cook it, what I would do is go ahead and sear it off in here about 2 minutes on a side, 2 to 3 minutes usually actually. We'll get it nice and kind of browned on the outside and give you a good crust, and it'll be really good. And then take the whole pan and throw it in a 350-degree oven and let it finish in there for about 15 to 20 minutes so it can slowly work its way to the inside, and you will have some of the best meat you've ever had. Steak, chicken, pork, whatever it is. Obviously, you're going to have to change those times based on the thickness, but for about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick chicken breast, as long as it's not on a bone, if you sear it about 3 minutes on each side and then throw it in the oven for about 15 minutes, that'll do the trick. For about 1 inch thick pork chop, I usually try to go a little less than well done, like a medium to a medium well. It's just better that way. It's a lot juicier and not dry, and it's safe. So I would never eat pork chop medium rare, but medium to medium well is okay. So what I'll do with that is I'll again sear it for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side and throw it in the oven for around between 5 and 10 minutes. And kind of just touch it and test. For steak, I like steak medium rare to rare. So what I would do for 1 inch thick steak is sear it off real hard in a really hot pan. Like I would even let it go longer than 5 minutes in that case. Sear it off like to get a nice crust for maybe 4 minutes on the side, and then put it in the oven for probably only like 3 minutes. And then it would be really nice and sort of a medium rare. That would be really good. So it's nice. But you can cook just about anything in cast iron. The only thing I would shy away from is anything acidic, because anything acidic that goes into cast iron is going to take off that wonderful seasoning you put on there, which is what's going to make this mostly non-stick. I say mostly non-stick because things do stick a little bit. The best way to prevent that from happening is higher heat usually. If you get that pan nice and hot before you throw anything in it, usually it's not going to stick. The biggest things I have problems with sticking sometimes are meat or anything with like protein, meat, eggs, things like that. It's gotten to the point now that since I have this pan that I don't really even use non-stick anymore. There's one non-stick pan that I still own, and that's what I use for cooking eggs because I'm very particular about my eggs. I've never gotten any cast iron to be glassy non-stick. I have seen it happen. Like if you search YouTube, you'll find some videos where they do that. But a lot of times if you're looking at that cast iron, it's like glossy black. It's that well seasoned, so it's probably a really old pan. I don't have any cast iron that's in that condition yet. I have some that are approaching that condition, but nothing yet. You'll get that as you keep on using your pan, seasoning it, and not washing it with soap, ever. Don't use any sort of like scouring stuff in this either. When I cook with my cast iron, I'll sear like a piece of meat, get that done, take the meat out. I will then pour in some hot water don't ever pour in cold water, because if your pan's nice and hot and you pour in cold water, that temperature fluctuation could cause it to crack. It would have to be really hot and really cold for that usually to happen, but I don't think it's worth the risk. So usually what I do is I just turn the hot water on in the kitchen, let it run for a second to get nice and, cool, warmed up. Put a little in a cup, pull my meat out, pour the water in, use like my tongs or something to sort of scrape around and start getting some of that stuff up. Like you're deglazing the pan basically and getting most of that stuff up. And then I go and we have dinner. While it sort of like sits there and stays simmering, no heat on, underneath, just the heat that's already in the pan, the residual heat. We'll start working at whatever that is that's left in the pan and start bringing it up. And then I just pour it out in the sink when I go to clean the pan. Hot water only. I use a non-scratch scouring pad, the kind you'd use for non-stick, and scour the inside of it a little bit with that, sort of scrub it down until it's clean again and there's nothing stuck to it. Rinse it out really well, put it back on the stove, put it back on the heat until it comes completely bone dry. Take that same cloth, because I keep the same one. It's just better, because even though the pan is technically clean, because of the way the seasoning works, and it's kind of basically almost like burnt on fat that kind of polymerizes to the pan, you're going to get a little bit of rub off with your cloth, and it's going to make some dark marks on there. So I just keep the same one so that I don't have to worry about ruining anything good. And just rub it all down again inside and out with just a very, very, very fine light layer of the lard, maybe half teaspoon at the most. Rub it all down really well. Let it sit to the side until it's completely cool. Put a cloth inside. I usually just use a piece of fabric that I cut for that purpose, put that inside, and then set it to the side. The fabric does a couple things. It keeps dust from sticking to that fresh lard you just put on there and kind of creating something gross. And then also, if you need to put another pan inside, it's not going to mar that sort of non-stick surface either. So I do that. And honestly, if you go to like a yard sale or a rummage sale to buy your cast iron, you're really better off, because see this one here? You probably can't see any of what's on there. You kind of see that there's some printing there. Well, what this pan is it's a Wagner 1891 skillet. I mean, it's not from 1891. It was the 1891 series. It was actually made in the 1940s. I looked it up because I was curious at what that meant. And this pan, currently going on eBay, in worse shape than this one is, $80. I got this pan for basically 60 cents. So, the round griddle pan that came with this in the same box that I salvaged and kind of refinished, that one goes for $40 on eBay right now. So two pans would be $120 if I bought them on eBay, and I got them for $1.20. So, yeah, there we go. Cast iron is probably my favorite thing. Whoever invented cast iron and invented seasoning it and turning it into like this nice non-stick thing is a genius. Do not be afraid of cast iron. There are lots of people I talk to that say they don't use cast iron because it's too much effort, too much work. Oh, I just want to throw it in my dishwasher and be done with it. Well, okay, that's kind of lazy. I do dishes by hand every day. Every day. We don't have a dishwasher. So I spend about a half an hour every day doing dishes. Washing one of these takes about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So yeah, go ahead and load up your dishwasher, start it, and then wash your cast iron. It's going to take about 2 minutes. Just hot water, scrubby, scrubby, scrubby. Hot water, dry it off, on the stove, wipe, wipe, wipe. Done. And it's going to be way better than your expensive-ass cast iron, Teflon, non-stick stuff. It's going to last forever, because, I mean, it's freaking cast iron. It's good, it's heavy, it's quality. One of the things that kills me is if people out there that are like, oh, I want some All-Clad. I want All-Clad, it's so great. It's used in all the cooking shows. And it's good because it's so heavy. You know what? This is probably heavier. This It's thick. It's durable. It's sturdy. I can kill somebody with this thing. It's good stuff. Don't screw around. You should go out and buy cast iron. It's good. Join me in my obsession. Because yes, it's become an obsession. I now have like 5 this size skillet. I have 1 really big skillet. I have 2 cast iron, what are they called? Sorry, Dutch ovens. I have 2 cast iron Dutch ovens. I have 2 cast iron griddles. I have so much cast iron stuff, and I love it all, and I use it all the time. I love it. I also have 3 smaller cast iron skillets that are about yay big, and I like to use those for you know, just small things. Like if I'm just sautéing up a couple of mushrooms to go something with dinner, using the little small skillet. Don't usually bother with the big one. If I'm doing heating up some vegetables or something, I usually do that with the smaller one. Don't bother with the bigger one. Things like that. Just, you know, small little jobs. I go with the smaller skillets. If it's just me eating and I just want to sear off 1 piece of meat, I'll usually go with the small one instead of the big one. I also really like using the small ones for like casseroles almost. You know, even though I'm eating healthy, I do splurge on Sundays and kind of cheat on Sundays a little bit. So if I'll make, say, baked macaroni and cheese, and I don't want to make a whole dish of it because it's just going to be for me or just for me and my wife or whatever, I'll take one of the smaller skillets and use that as my casserole dish. And I'll put, you know, everything in there and throw the cast iron into the oven. That's probably one of the most awesome things about cast iron is it can go into the oven. So it works great for so many things. Classic country style cornbread. You pour your batter in here, put it in the oven. I've seen one of my favorite things in the world is pineapple upside down cake. The best pineapple upside down cakes are made in one of these in the oven. So, cast iron. Go buy some. You will not regret it, and you'll thank me for it. But anyway, I've gone way over. This video is going on now for like over 40 minutes, so I am going to let you go. But before I let you go, I want to remind you to keep waging a war against your waistline, and I'll see you next time. This is your Portly Paladin, signing off.